電話響啊！
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm very well, thank you. My name's Gwen. I don't think we've ever met, Albert.
Doesn't matter. You are welcome.
Thank you very much. Before I go, can I... Oh, it's all right, I've got the link for the next meeting, haven't I? For the China Today?
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yep. This one is big history.
That's great too. I was here last week.
Yeah, okay. Today we will talk about big insects.
Will you? Yeah, I need to
Coming too early.
send the information of the chemist to John, so that John can send it.
Okay. Yes. Well, my chemist is at the Resident Plaza.
Oh, I get some information.
Ginny is getting the name. Okay, that's very good.
Manningham Pharmacy.
Manningham Pharmacy. Resident Plaza Pharmacy. Yeah. We have the table number here. Yeah, 9852 0205. Thank you so much.
What the amount?
Yeah, for will be AENTECAVIR, 0.5 milligram. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm getting ready for a online Zoom class. I'm organizing that. I expect about 5. But the next one and at one I have a China today which I expect about 30. Yeah, and they are also live on YouTube as well at the same time. Yep, thank you very much. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, back again.
Hello, Gwen.
Hello.
Going?
It's cold out there.
Yeah, today is going to be cold.
Find out.
2 years ago, it snowed on this day in Lawn.
Oh, okay.
My Facebook memories tell me. So this must be a certain day of the month, start of August.
Yes. Aren't we lucky we don't have to go outside to have this meeting?
Yes, yes. I think we'll all get used to this in winter. Just stay home and hunker down, eat too much, drink too much, and have food.
Well, in that case, maybe later on all my courses will be online instead. I don't know whether it's a good idea or not because that means I'm not going to see everybody face to face.
I know.
It's not quite the same. That's the only problem.
We'd be eating at your class normally. In fact, I might go and get something to eat.
I've got my cup of coffee.
Yes, I might make a cup of tea because we're not all ready yet.
Yeah, another 3 minutes.
I had to rush out to Office Works to buy last minute things because they're closing tonight.
Lấy個鍋啦。 I think I better turn on the lights first.
What's this here?
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Mario. See? No, Albert. Hello, Albert.
G'day.
Hello.
Remember
G'day,
me?
Albert. Gwen, I'm looking at the painting behind you.
Oh, yes.
Is that a TARDIS?
No.
Yellow
it's a-
TARDIS?
It's, no, it's, I think it's prior to TARDIS, isn't it?
Sorry?
It might even be before TARDIS.
TARDIS is a time machine. It can go any time.
True, of course. It's the wrong colour. The TARDIS is navy anyway.
Well, yes. Yes.
It's out of date. You don't see them anymore.
Okay, let's get started. Today we will talking about insects. Large insects, very large insects. So let me share the screen first and then we'll get started. It's this one. And share. Okay. The insects in a certain period, the Carboniferous period. Okay. Now, in order to compare the size of the insects, it's better for us to actually look at what are the large insects today. So, large insects today. I got a video from YouTube, so I play that.
Top 10 largest insects in the world. Insects within the animal kingdom are usually associated with the idea that they are small and tiny. Well, in this top, we show you the opposite. Insects that even measure more than half a meter, or 1.6 feet, and that could probably scare you off for good. Number 10, tarantula hawk. Have you ever felt fear seeing a tarantula? Well, this wasp is your natural predator, so be afraid. If you've watched the Alien movie at some point, this wasp will somehow be familiar, since when it hunts a tarantula, it deposits an egg in its interior and then lets it live inside because it serves as a nest for its larva, which will gradually eat the arachnid from the inside out and then go through his abdomen and continue with its adult life as a wasp. Known indeed to hunt tarantulas, this wasp inhabits all continents. Despite this, they tend to avoid high temperatures. It is one of the largest wasp species, reaching up to 2 inches or 5 centimeters in length. However, the biggest concern lies in its bite, which is considered the second most painful in the world. According to many experts, if being stung by one of these beasts, the most advisable is to lie down and scream, since the indescribable pain lasts only 3 to 5 minutes of agony. Number 9, giant cave cockroaches. This species of cockroach is known to inhabit the tropical rainforest of Central America and northern South America because it usually searches for places with high humidity and low light, such as hollow trees or caves, hence the name. It is considered the largest cockroach, measuring the average male a little less than 3 inches, and the female being significantly larger, reaching up to 4 inches. Unlike the great majority of cockroaches, it does not move much. It also doesn't have the usual brown color of its species, and it's more of a transparent color. Although it is omnivorous, its diet consists basically of plants, being quite a docile animal in the presence of humans. Number 8. Giant Weta. Hailing from New Zealand, the giant weta is a grasshopper-like insect. However, it can't jump due to its large size and weight, which reaches up to 4 inches, not counting the lengths of its legs and antennas. Despite having a fairly large size, it's not its main virtue, as it is known as one of the insects of greater weight worldwide, being the heaviest recorded in 2.5 ounces. Accustomed to looking for food in the evening hours, basing its diet mainly on waste, vegetation, and small insects, it is a nocturnal animal that does not have great vision, making it quite dependent on its antennae. An unusual feature in insects is that weta usually hibernates during strong winters, allowing it to survive temperatures below freezing point. It is believed that this species may have lived in the Triassic period because fossils of similar creatures have been found. Unfortunately, this animal is in danger of extinction due to the large number of predators, including birds and rodents. Number 7. The giant Malaysian katydid. This species of grasshopper from the tropical forests of Malaysia usually measure between 5 and 6 inches, being the largest grasshopper species in the world. Its appearance resembles a leaf, which helps camouflage it because it is a creature that does not move much. Something curious about this species is that although their predators cannot see it, they are able to smell them, so their defense mechanism consists of throwing their feces as far as possible as bait, which allows them to escape. Unlike common grasshoppers and crickets, this animal can't jump. However, it is able to fly, either to transport itself or to escape possible predators. Number 6. Giant Asian mantis. Originally, obviously, from Asia, it is one of the largest species of mantids, measuring between 3 and 4 inches, with the female being slightly larger. Despite this, there have been cases of mantis that can measure up to 6 inches. When camouflaging, it is incredibly skilled. However, it is not the kind to sit and wait, since the mantis will not stop attacking until capturing its prey once it's spotted it. Its main diet is based on all kinds of insects, although sometimes it can hunt mice and small birds, basically everything that is smaller than it. In addition, one of the most known characteristics is that the female usually eats the male at the time of mating. Still, this animal is also capable of preying on its own species for no reason, mainly when it is in captivity. In recent years, it has become quite popular as a pet. Number 5. Hercules beetle. It is a species of rhinoceros beetle that can be located in the tropical forests of Central and South America, being one of the largest in the family of beetles, measuring up to 6.8 inches and weighing 2 ounces. Characterized by having 2 horns similar to pincers which are used to fight, lift objects, or exhibit their strength. It is believed that it is the strongest animal on Earth, managing to lift up to 850 times its own weight, being the equivalent of a person lifting 65 tons, demonstrating the reason for its name. Despite being a creature that is always battling its own species, it is quite calm in the presence of humans. Number 4. Titan beetle. This particular insect usually inhabits the area of the Amazon jungle, being the largest of its species to the present time when measuring between 6.9 and 7.8 inches. This type of beetle is said to have been able to cut wood with its powerful pincers, which also serve as a defense mechanism. Despite this, it is a peaceful species in relation to humans. Something particular about it is what the Titan beetle does when feeling threatened is to emit a sound similar to a whistle, which would suppose a warning signal for other beetles. Although it can fly, it needs to climb to a high surface to be able to take flight, which indicates that it would only fly to move over long distances or at the time of mating. It is also understood that the adult male specimens of this beetle don't need to eat, so it is deduced that all the food and energy it needs to move and fly is gathered in its larval stage. Of this species, it has been possible to study very little due to the scarce amount of females found, in addition to never having sighted its larvae, which are believed to live in wood in the process of decomposition, and that could measure about 11.8 inches. However, just as many other animals, this species is in danger of extinction, mainly due to its undue capture, since a good specimen can cost around $400 on the black market. Number 3. Atlas moth. This species of moth lives in the tropical forests of Southeast Asia, where it is also known as a snakehead moth because the shape of its wings resembles the head of a cobra, which it uses to scare off predators. In length, it can reach up to 12 inches. In India, the caterpillars of the Atlas moth are known to make a brown silk with a look similar to the wool known as fagara, while in Taiwan, its cocoons are used to make purses. However, this species does not have a mouth, so after leaving its cocoon, it only has a few days of life, which are primarily used to reproduce and maintain the species. Number 2. Queen's Alexandria birdwing. It is considered the longest butterfly in the world because females usually measure up to 9.8 inches, although some have been found that reach even 1 foot long, which contrasts quite with the male that barely arrives at 8 inches. This animal was sighted for the first time in 1906 in Papua New Guinea at more than 2,952.76 feet above sea level. You have to imagine the reaction of its discoverers to see it for the first time, because when they saw it, they did not hesitate to shoot it with a shotgun, believing it to be threatening and dangerous. And who wouldn't? However, more than 100 years later, this species has been classified as endangered, mainly due to the destruction of its natural habitat and the incredible value it has within the black market, amounting to $10,000. Before revealing the largest insect in the world, we show you some that should have honorable mentions. The Japanese giant hornet, 1.6 inches. Dobson fly, 3 inches. The giant water bug, 4.7 inches or 12 centimeters. Actaeon beetle, 5.4 inches or 13.7 centimeters. Number 1. Stick insects. Originally from the island of Borneo, it is considered by many entomologists to be the largest insect in the world, measuring close to 23.6 inches. As its name suggests, the insect resembles a stick or a branch. Very little is known of this species because, obviously, its shape makes it difficult to see it. It is believed that it lives in a tree canopy which consists of the tops of treetops in a forest, which is not easily accessible to researchers. If you too were impressed by the size of some insects, give it a thumbs up and share. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Until next time.
Okay, that was the current come on. That was the current size. So let's look at something in the fossil.
Before we go off that, Alvin, I wish the Americans would learn to speak English. I presume when he talked about Borneo, he was talking about Borneo.
I don't know about all this. This too difficult for me.
I'm sure that's what it was.
Okay. How come the noise level is so large? Okay. This is a dragonfly, and this is the size of it compared to a adult man. Okay, so it is quite large. First discovered in France in 1880. This is one of the largest unknown flying insects to ever exist on Earth anyway. Very similar to dragonfly, but we don't know whether they are related or not, probably because we don't have DNA to sequence them. The maximum size of it, of course, is determined by the amount of oxygen available in the atmosphere, because insects breathe through valves in their skeleton, so they can actually obtain oxygen throughout the body, and therefore it makes them capable of expanding in size depending on the availability of oxygen and so on. Because it's so large, it might be eating other insects and maybe hunting. Is a hunter. So this is one of the fossils that is available. The size there has I have shown you the size already. So how insects can get to grow to so large? So there are three factors. The oxygen level, so that if they doesn't have sufficient oxygen level, that means they won't have the sufficient energy to sustain fight or sustain growth. So the oxygen level will be much higher than today. Another one is they are lack of predators. They might be the first kind of animals that take flight, and because then there's no other birds or other animals which fly, and therefore they don't have to worry about being hunted. Another opportunity is whether there is a sufficient energy for them to be in the larva state. So there will be a lot of lava at that time, presumably. Okay, so let's look at that period of time. The way oxygen is diffused through the insect's body is via breathing systems all along the body. Okay, so this is quite different from we humans. We breathe through the nose or mouth, and then the oxygen is transported to different part of our body by our circulation, by the blood. But the insects can breathe through the body. At the moment, our oxygen level is about 20%. But at that time, we think the oxygen level might be something like 30% and so forth. So in order for these insects to be able to fight, they must have sufficient energy. That means when they burn, then there are oxygen available. So the oxygen level is very much one of the main factors that these insects can be so large. And then the second reason is, of course, as I said, the lack of predators, because probably at that time there is no other creatures which fly, so they might be the only creatures that can fly, and therefore they occupy a ecological niche. Another theory is that the insects are developed in water before it becomes terrestrial as an adult. So there must be other method of getting food when they are young in the water. So these are the possible reasons, but we don't actually know. But one thing we definitely know is about the oxygen level. So this is the in the period of Carboniferous period. During this period, which is about 359 million years ago, the period itself is approximately 60 million years. So it is around 300 million to 358 million years ago. The word itself means coal bearing. That means this is the period which produced all the coal that we find today. And the name is coined by a geologist. At that time, the whole planet is one landmass. This landmass is approximately at the equator in this orientation. So most of the animals, because they are all on this landmass, so they are quite related. But later on, when these lands get separated, then the different ecologies produce different diversities. But at that time, all the animals are in the same land, so they are quite mixed up. In terms of the plants available, these are some of the fossils and the artist depiction of what it might look like. So on the other side, on the right hand side, we have a fossilized trunk of a tree. So there will be large swaths of forests.
Please mute yourself before you use the phone.
I'm sorry, I thought we might have been muted. I didn't realise that was happening. I should do that. I apologise.
No problem. Okay, let's go on. At that time the atmospheric oxygen level is probably 35% rather than today's 21%. So there's one question: how come at that time the oxygen level is so high? Now, because the reason is that at that time the animals and bacteria find it difficult to digest the ligaments and the cellulose that make up of gigantic trees. That means, in simple words, that means there is no mechanism of rotting the wood produced by the trees. So when a tree falls to the forest floor, the bacteria and all kinds of insects would start eating up the tree trunk and converting the carbon that is captured by the tree trunk back into carbon dioxide and then released back to the atmosphere. But at those days, this kind of mechanism haven't developed yet. There's no animal eating wood. Today, wood eating animal is still quite limited to some kind of ants, but most of the wood is today digested by bacteria. But at those times, these wood digesting bacteria haven't evolved yet. So when the trees fall down or broken up for whatever reason, they will just simply pile up in the ground and will not rot. And except every now and then there might be a forest fire. The forest fire may burn them and then release them back into atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Otherwise, they just keep lumping up there. So that is why we have so much coal today. The coal was the tree trunks at that time being heat up by after burning inside the earth's crust and then heat etc. convert them into the coal today. So the amount of coal we have today will illustrate how much trees were there before. Yeah, a question? No? Okay, now we can start our discussion. So let me just stop the share screen. Okay, any questions? Anyone want to start the discussion? Albert, you always have something to say. Not this time? No?
I'm no expert, so I'll leave. You're the expert, so.
Well, the interesting thing, of course, is that at this time, what I want to say, I just forgotten. I forgotten what I want to say. Sorry.
About the oxygen?
Yeah, about the oxygen. Yep. Okay. Now at the moment, people have asked me, will the oxygen levels today change back to 30-something%? The answer is no, because today we have so much mechanism of converting whatever that is in the carbon back into the atmosphere. For example, the forest, they take down carbon, but the carbon will be digested and then put back into the atmosphere. So we really have a problem with our global warming, because the global warming, we are releasing so much carbon dioxide into the air. So people say, oh, we can plant a lot of trees. So you plant the trees will capture some carbon dioxide, that's true. But eventually when the tree falls down, they will be digested again and then will convert back into carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So that planting a lot of trees probably is not the best solution for the global warming.
But we're doing the opposite anyway. We're pulling up more trees. I mean,
well, we put up more trees will have a short-term effect, because at the moment when we put up the trees will capture carbon dioxide. That's true. But when the tree grew old, and then when it fells, then it will rot. When it rots, it will release the carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Yeah.
Does that mean that we should plant more trees than are likely to die?
Sorry again?
Well, there's a natural attrition rate with trees, obviously, but maybe we should plant even more so that
if we keep on planting more and more, that might solve the problem, but eventually we will run out of space to plant trees. Isn't it? Well, but there is actually one solution. I just point out that planting trees is not the best solution, but because when you plant a tree will eventually die, and when they die, it will be rotten, and during rotten stage, it will convert back into atmosphere or carbon dioxide. But if we convert the tree into charcoal, then it is pure carbon, and there's no known insects or no known method to convert the carbon back into carbon dioxide except by combustion, except by burning. So if we can convert our carbon dioxide in the atmosphere back into carbon, and make sure that that kind of carbon cannot be burnt, then we can store a lot of carbon. So one method is what they call biochar. The idea is that you turn your wood or any biomaterial into charcoal. That kind of charcoal, of course, will have the crystal structure of the plant itself by pyrolysis. That means, for example, we have a block of wood. We put a block of wood enclosed with no oxygen, and then heat it up at high temperature. Then all the volatile organic compounds will evaporate, and that becomes a wood gas, which can be burnt for energy. So this wood gas can be used back to heat up further woods. So as these woods give up all its volatile compound, it will become a charcoal. That charcoal has a lot of very small fine holes in it. So what we can do is use that charcoal, grind it up into small pieces, and then use some kind of bacteria to infiltrate the charcoal, so that these bacteria are nitrogen generating bacteria, similar to the aquarium. In an aquarium, we will put some filters there. In a filter, there's a mechanism where you try to grow some bacteria. The bacteria will convert the ammonia from the fish into nitrate and nitrites. Nitrate and nitrites are plant fruit, so we can use that to grow plants. So by mixing it with biocharcoal, then the soil in which you have mixed in this one will contain a lot of these bioconverting bacteria, which will convert ammonia in particular, into nitrate and nitrites, which can be absorbed by plants, and therefore the soil of this kind of enhanced by biochar will become much more fertile. So that's one method of actually storing all the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So if we really want to solve the problem, we should start doing these biochar. Plant a lot of bamboos. Bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants, producing a lot of biomass. So we plant a lot of bamboos in all the tropical regions, because most of bamboos live in tropical regions, is fast growing. So we plant a lot of bamboos everywhere. For example, in Australia, we can plant a lot of them in Queensland. Then chop the bamboo down, heat up the bamboo so that it produces the wood gas. The wood gas is used to drive electric turbines to produce electricity. The byproduct, don't burn it to 100%. Burn it until it becomes charcoal. Grind out the charcoal and then sell the charcoal to farmers or give it to the farmers to let them mix it into their soil. We need approximately mix this biochar up to about 30 centimeters over an area of, I think it's about 1 million square miles. Then we will have removed sufficient carbon from the atmosphere to restore back to about 300 years ago. So we just need to scale up this process to remove the carbon dioxide from the air.
But what percentage of carbon does that carbon gas contain then?
Now that kind of biochar is pure carbon, and therefore there is no more energy from insects to extract from it.
I meant the gas that is driven off in that process of carbonizing, of generating the carbon. You said there was gas produced, which is used to heat more of it up.
Yeah.
So I just wondered how much carbon is in that gas.
Oh, no, there will be carbon in that gas, sure, but the residue, the what is left behind is pure carbon. Yeah. So you will be left behind approximately 30% of the original carbon in the bamboo. So you take 1 kilogram of bamboo, burn it, then you produce about 300 grams of charcoal. The rest is obviously released back to air, okay? But still, you have a net gain of about 30%. So after producing as a charcoal, the charcoal itself will be inert. It won't rot. It won't rot. That means it will not be converted back into atmosphere by microorganisms.
Okay.
But the other good thing about this kind of charcoal is that there's a lot of holes. It's porous. It's a lot of small holes, and these small holes can harbor a lot of bacteria. We try to let the good bacteria to grow among these holes before we put it into the soil, so that this good bacteria will be converting nitrogen from air into nitrate and nitrites, which the plants can absorb, just like the legumes. We inoculate the biochar with nitrates producing bacteria. So basically that becomes a fertilizer for your soil. Because once you mix that into your soil, the bacteria in that is still living, and then keep on converting the nitrogen from air into nitrates for the plants. So that's why land using that kind of soil is more fertile. Have I answered your question?
The oceans are a carbon sink as well, aren't they?
Yeah, the ocean is carbon sink as well. Converting now the carbon sink in the atmosphere is mostly carbonate. So it is the minerals, calcium, etc., which will react with the carbonic acid from the rain. The rain down, take the carbon dioxide, becomes carbonic acid. The carbonic acid will react with minerals to form carbonate. And then the carbonate will sink into the ocean floor. Yes, that's true.
Okay.
But the process is not fast enough. We are burning too quickly. We are burning too much coal.
Sure.
Any other question?
Are they taking this on board? Is anybody taking what you're saying on board and actually putting it into practice?
Yes, there are people promoting that idea, and actually I think in Australia here there's one team of people. It just need to be scaled up. There's one team of people going around in different farms. You know, Australia have quite a bit of sugar canes. The sugar cane at the moment, a lot of them is being used as mulch. But still, we are not using as much sugar cane as we need. So a lot of the sugar cane today is actually being burnt as fuel to produce sugar. So the sugar factories take the sugar cane in and then squeeze out the sugar cane juice. Some of that sugar cane residues is being used as fuel. What we need to do is don't burn completely, just burn the sugar cane where up to it becomes carbonized. Don't burn it completely, and then take that out at that stage. Then we will have biochar, which can be used in other ways. The problem at the moment is there's no economic values. People are not buying that biochar, so it is cheaper for them to burn it completely. So that is the problem. We need to create a mechanism, and that's where carbon trading comes in. If we have a carbon trading, then the fact that it is pure carbon, that have a price for those polluting industries. So they need to buy the carbon, and therefore that biochar has a value. When the biochar has a value, then the sugar cane will say, okay, it's better not to burn it completely. Let it be carbonized, and then I sell the carbon. So we need a carbon trading scheme to kickstart this. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in Australia. They revert back to, we don't have carbon trading now. Is that right, in Australia? I think Julie Geller started some of this long time ago, and then it will revert back. There's no more carbon trading in Australia.
Yeah.
What a pity.
Getting back to sugarcane, Albert, have you travelled through Queensland or northern New South Wales?
I have just been in Queensland at a few spots as tourists.
Well, if you travel particularly by train, it's just incredible how much sugarcane there is. Certainly one of the most prolific, if not the most prolific, crops in Queensland and northern New South Wales.
Do you know why sugar is the first plant the colonizers plant in America and Australia? Among all the crops, why sugar?
They didn't have any before that.
Yeah.
They only had sugar beets and honey and things like that.
Exactly.
Was it to make rum?
No, because sugar was very expensive.
absolutely. But sugar was only introduced into Europe after the discovery of America.
Yeah.
And
I thought it came from Turkey.
No, a
Sorry?
bit earlier than that. Sugar,
Oh,
sugar,
sugar from sugar beet, but sugar cane. Sorry, sugar cane.
Oh, sugar
was
cane is
introduced from America during the Tudor era in Britain.
yes.
And what happened was that the British taste, or probably I should say probably the European taste for sugar increased so much with the introduction of sugarcane.
Yeah.
And our appetite for sugar has been increasing
Yeah.
in the last 500 years since then.
Yeah. Okay.
But now, particularly in Australia, we are price takers for sugar. So we have to, if there's a glut in sugar, it's grown all around the world, a bit like a lot of those other big crops, tobacco and cotton and other things that aren't particularly good for the soil, grown all around the world. And it's often very hard for, as I read about this, our sugar planters to make so they claim anyway, a decent living out of it. Twice in my paying attention to the politics here in Australia, we've had these schemes to reorganize the sugar industry. And that means paying people to get out of the industry. And of course, the farm lobby in Queensland, where it's grown, is very, very strong, as we know. So we pay all the federal government on our behalf pays all this money to get these people out of the industry. They take all the money, and then the industry keeps right on going, and we have to have another reorganization. And it's about to happen again, I understand. So aside from the fact that, as we keep saying, sugar's the new tobacco, it's very bad for us to eat as much sugar as we do, but hard to actually avoid it. It's very, well, I was going to say it's very bad for the soil. I don't know that. I'm equating it with tobacco and cotton. It's certainly a difficult industry for Australia to, as a whole, to profit from. That's my input.
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the problems is that there is a virtual monopoly in Australia. There's only one country which is actually turning sugarcane into sugar. And as all monopolies do, they have incredible say in what's happening.
yeah. Well, Brazil is also a very large sugar producing country. They are now converting sugar into alcohol for
Where is
burning,
this?
for as fuel.
Where's that?
Brazil.
Brazil, right.
Yeah, Brazil is converting sugar into alcohol and then use it as fuel.
So Albert, would they use that the way in the US they use corn, and I think it's corn here in Australia, to produce a biofuel?
A corn, no,
Ethanol, that's what they call it.
yeah,
isn't it?
corn can be
Yeah.
used to produce ethanol as well, yes. But I think corn is in America. Brazil is still predominantly sugar.
Okay.
Just like here, corn is being used as a food, especially for the animals. So different countries use different animal feeds. For example, in China, the main animal feed is not corn, it's soybean. Soybeans. Soybean is the main animal feed. They use soybean to extract oil. After extraction, then they will use it for the animal. Another thing, you know, tofu. The Chinese tofu.
Yeah, beef strips.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are made of soybean as well. So Chinese eat a bit of soya. So soy milk is also China. Yes, by the way, Do you know who invented the mechanism of converting sugar into the white sugar today?
No.
The Indians.
Ah,
The Indians is the first person who converted sugarcane sugar into white sugar and then transported to Europe. And for one, I don't know when, for a period of time, sugar is valued like gold.
Are you talking about Asian Indians or Red Indians?
Asian Indians.
Right.
India, West India.
Yeah.
Right. But they would have had to have got it from the Americans.
No, sugar cane come from India.
Yeah, Southeast Asia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then it was transported to South America and then grow there. It's not... Now, the South American original is the sweet bees is from America. Chocolate. I think chocolate, coffee, and sweet bees are from South America.
Well, from coffee and chocolate come from Mexico, which geographically is North America.
Okay. Anyway, around that region. To me, America is America.
Arabica is come from Brazil.
We're at the pedigree of the whole thing.
Well, Brazil is the main producer now, but I think it originally came from Mexico.
I think the Incas chewed cocoa beans.
Right.
All the people that live in the Andes chewed cocoa beans.
Yeah. They drink a lot of coffee, chocolate.
Well, it was for the cocoa beans.
Yeah, with sugar beans. Yeah. And then, do you know why guinea pig is called guinea pig?
Was there from Guinea?
It's a convenient pig for them to eat.
Yes.
Guinea pig is food.
Yeah. And warm. They sleep with them as well.
Is that?
In the Andes. Yes. The people in the Andes kept them in their house because it's so cold.
Good idea.
Warmth and food. You can't go better.
So, two use, warm and meat.
Yeah.
I have to point out that guinea pigs are the only other animals that purr besides felines.
Oh, yeah.
Their purring is a different sound. It's a sort of rather than the that we get from the felines. But in felines, purring goes back through almost every single family or classification. I'm not sure the taxonomy. So it must have been developed really, really early in that group of animals. So don't forget the guinea pigs.
Getting back to what we were saying about chocolate, Albert, you were saying that it's drunk in South America. It wasn't until the middle of the 19th century that we had chocolate in blocks, chocolate in a solid form. And believe it or not, it was the Seventh-day Adventists who, people like Mr. Cadbury, who was a Seventh-day Adventist and who turned this drinking product
I think
into a solid food.
In the original place, they don't need to preserve them, you know. We only need to preserve them if this is not available in our region. If chocolate is available with them, why preserve? They can have it fresh.
Well,
There's a number of interesting questions I don't have an answer. I don't know whether anyone have. For example, coffee. As coffee beans by itself, the green coffee beans, is that tasty or not?
Don't think so.
I don't think so. But how come people will understand that by almost cooking it to almost charcoal, then it becomes coffee?
Well, there's the old cliche that coffee smells much better than it tastes. And my theory is that people wanted to try and convert this beautiful smelling stuff into something that tastes just as good as the smell, and they never quite got there.
True.
Maybe someone tested it after a bushfire. Tested up and
Likely.
Yeah, maybe another possibility is because it's bushfire, and then they find it. Okay.
Doesn't that relate to a lot of the foods we eat? I mean, bread and all these things. How would you look at grain of wheat, a seed on the top of a plant, and decide, oh, that's going to make a nice cake one day?
Well, now we have cooked that food before we have bread.
That's right.
Human cooks much earlier. We cooks at
Meat.
at around 1 to 3 million years ago. We started eating cooked food.
Did you eat raw meat before then?
Sorry?
Yes.
Did humans eat their meat raw before then?
Well, just like all other animals, okay, a human eats a lot of other things, but there is a type of apes which discover eating cooked meats, and cooked meat makes us human.
But I mean, any animal which has contact with humans, particularly dogs and cats, will eat cooked meat. But getting back to what you were saying about bread, it's very interesting. Take bread and cheese, and you have together two products which were formed by decaying. The wheat, and I'm sure in both cases it came about by accident. The wheat is decayed flour, and the cheese is decayed milk.
Yeah, and then we have decayed juice becomes alcohol.
Yes.
And we have also a lot of fermented something. For example, there's fermented tofu, which we use it like cheese.
Very nice.
It's actually very nice, yes.
Inverted what?
Tofu.
tofu. It's a beans curd.
Beans curd.
Remember that up until 100 years ago, there was very, very little refrigeration. And the preservation of material of food to be able to eat, things like the autumn slaughter of animals, that because they couldn't keep those animals with enough food over winter, so they slaughtered the excess. Then they had to figure out how to keep the meat, and the innards was often the best part to them, how to keep it going. And I'm sure that talking about all these fermented foods, that would be so common for things to go off, especially at the bottom of the barrel or the pot or whatever it was. I think it would be very easy to discover the advantage of fermentation.
Yeah, fermentation, drying, smoking, salting, and vinegar. Use of vinegar to, what's that called? Pickling. Yeah. All this stuff come from when we don't have refrigerator.
Yeah, that's right.
You remind me of a funny story, and I apologise, it's a long story. But when I was 11 years old, I went on my first scout camp, and we camped in Warrandyte. And of course, we had a Coolgardie safe, which, Albert, you know what a Coolgardie safe is?
No.
No. It keeps the food cool with ice. But you run out of ice and you've got a problem. Now, The first letter this was a 10-day camp, and the tradition in scouting, if you've got a large camp, you have a visitor's day in the middle of the camp. Right. So on the first day, I wrote back to my parents, and of course, keeping kosher, I don't eat pig's meat. And I wrote back and said, for breakfast every morning, everybody has bacon and eggs, but I only have the eggs. Now, what I was trying to say, of course, was, see, what a good boy am I. But my mother, being typical parent, oh, my son's starving. And so on Visitor's Day, she brought this huge 4-pound
ham.
Kosher. Sorry?
4-pound hams for you.
4-pound kosher sausage. Now, the kids got hold of this huge sausage and they tamed the kookaburra. The kookaburra just couldn't get enough of this kosher sausage. And when we went on a full-day hike, about 16-mile hike, and the kookaburra followed us everywhere, not flying above us, but walking. If he flew, he might miss a bit of sausage. So he was walking with us to get his sausage. But the point of the story is that on the last day of the camp, I got the last laugh because they went to the Coolgardie safe to get out the bacon full of maggots.
Well, cook the maggots then. They are protein anyway.
Well, yes.
Okay, anyway, thank you very much. We'll
thank
see you
you.
in the next one, which is China Today.
Thank you, Albert.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.